Welcome, welcome. If you haven't noticed, I am all about making life a little bit easier for yourself when you have time to do it. So today we are going to make a couple of our favorite recipes in mason jars. We're going to put all of the dry ingredients in mason jars, and so that when we want to use them, we already have a mix for them made. So it's basically like making your own mixes, but instead of having Jiffy cornbread or Jiffy muffins or Krusty's pancakes, you have your own favorite recipes. And so we're going to do that today. We have pancakes, raspberry muffins, and then our favorite cornbread. And so we're going to do those, and all you do is you get a jar or a Ziploc bag or whatever. You put all of the dry ingredients that you'll need inside, and then you either like say what the recipe is and where to find it, or you just put what you need to add directly on the bottle so that you know when you grab it, you know exactly what you need to add. So first I think we're going to do the cornbread. For the cornbread, I think we're just going to make 2 of them because we don't eat them very often, but when we do eat them, I don't want to make it. So and it's kind of the right season for cornbread, so we're going to go ahead and make 2 of these cornbreads. I used to double the recipe, but we just didn't go through it fast enough. So this recipe makes an 8-inch square pan, which is perfect for us because we're just 4. So these are just old spaghetti jars. You can use whatever jars you want to, but I really enjoy saving the spaghetti jars because then you can use them over and over and over. The ones that have twist on lids, you don't, this doesn't need to be sealed or anything like that, so this is a perfect way for you to use these spaghetti jars. So we'll go ahead and do this. And I thought I was being so smart, and I put, by putting my funnel somewhere, and I totally forgot where I put it. It obviously wasn't that smart. So we're gonna do half a cup of cornmeal. And I like this because you can just, you already have all the ingredients out, so it's easier to make 2 than it is, anyways, it's just easier to make 2 than just 1. 1.5 cups of flour. This recipe, I'll link it, but it is practically like corn cake. It is so delicious. You could easily half the sugar that's in here because it is really sweet. Then when you go to use the recipe, I'm just going to put it through a sieve right before when I put it in the bowl so that the ingredients mix well together, because there's nothing worse than getting a clump of baking powder in your food. Now 2/3 cup of sugar. Let's see if this all fits. I think it will. Just barely. Woo-wee. I guess I am not putting all the sugar in. In a normal mason jar, this would be just fine, but there we go. 1 tablespoon of baking powder. And then 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Okay, we'll put the correct lids in each one. Okay, now there's our cornbread, and all we have to do is add the eggs, milk, and butter and oil when we want to use these. So I will go ahead and write. I've been really liking masking tape lately for some reason. It seems to come off really easy, and then it's really easy to write on too. So I'm going to write on masking tape what I need to add to this recipe, and then how long and on what degrees that I need to do that. But I'll do that in a minute. Okay, next we're gonna make the raspberry muffins, and these are the best raspberry muffins that I have ever had. I'm going to double the recipe because the recipe makes 10, but we usually share with our close family and they go so quick. Okay, I need to remind myself that I'm doubling this. So 2 cups of flour, 3, 4. Okay, that looks like the same. Okay, yep, I got 2 cups. Okay, 2 cups of flour, half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of baking soda. If you have not had these raspberry muffins from the Food Nanny, you need to make them. They are so delicious. One time for my husband, he works in construction, and I made these raspberry muffins for his whole crew, and they gave him standing ovation. They're just so good. Okay, baking soda, baking powder, 2 teaspoons. Before you make these, you're going to want to mix this really well, because you do not want a baking soda or baking powder clump in whatever you're making. Okay, we're not going to do the egg, but we are going to do 1 cup of sugar. I could add freeze-dried raspberries in here, but I do maybe. I don't think I have any freeze-dried raspberries, but if you did have some, you could definitely add them. You could add them to the mixture, but then you could. I love like individually putting a couple raspberries on top. So I have plenty of frozen raspberries, so I will just get mine out of the freezer when the time comes. But if you had freeze-dried raspberries, you could easily just put them in here. Then you wouldn't have to add them in the end. Okay, I think that's it. Yep, flour, salt, soda powder, sugar. Okay, that's it. We'll just put the lids on those. These also, there's the raspberry muffins. The raspberry muffins, the best part of them is the streusel topping, and they are delicious. And because we doubled the recipe, I'm going to double the streusel topping, and I'm hoping that it's going to fit in one of these. I'm not sure if it will fit in this pasta sauce one. We'll give it a try, and if it doesn't, then yeah, it's way not gonna fit in that. So let me go get a different jar real quick. Now we have a jar that will fit better. It's a cup of flour and 2/3 cup of sugar. I don't know why that if you have a mix made already, you're more likely to eat it, but I just am. Maybe because in the mornings I don't necessarily have all the energy to make a big thing, or to make the house dirty, because I know I'm just going to have to clean it up. I'm not sure, but all the streusel topping is flour and sugar, and then you just add in this case a half a cup of butter, because I doubled the recipe. I'm going to put these with my other raspberry muffins jars. And it says that it makes 10, but if you're like me and love the streusel topping, I usually make 12, and then I just try and fit as much streusel topping that I can on top, or add a few more raspberries. That's easy too. Okay, so we made the raspberry muffins, the cornbread. Now all we have left is the pancakes. This is my sister-in-law's recipe for pancakes, and honestly, they are the best pancakes ever. There are a couple different kind of pancakes that I like, but this is like true farmhouse pancakes. They're not very sweet, but they're like thick and fluffy. They're just good, just so good. If you had buttermilk powder, you could put that in here, freeze-dried buttermilk, and then you could just say add however much water to do it. I don't have freeze-dried buttermilk, so I'm just going to leave out the buttermilk because obviously I'm not going to put the wet stuff in here. So one recipe is good enough for our family for breakfast. It does plenty with leftovers. 1, 4. Okay, and we've got half a teaspoon of soda. Oh, okay. 1 1/4 teaspoon of soda. I'm just gonna do a heaping teaspoon. And then 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder. By doing this, the thing that I'm saving myself on is the cleanup and the taking out of everything. Because these use almost all of the same ingredients with the exception of just a few things, I only have to take them out one time and I only have to clean them up one time. So that's really where we're saving all of our time on making these meals. If you're a soup person, you could also do this same method with a bunch of different soup recipes because a lot of the time they use a bunch of the same ingredients and just have a few moments where you take out all of the soup ingredients and you put them all in a jar and then you put them all on your shelf and then you're ready for a day when you don't really have enough time to necessarily make a whole thing, but you still want the good meal. There's that. And before I get them all mixed up, I'm going to label them. And then we have 2 days worth of breakfast, worth of pancakes, actually probably 4 because it makes extras for our family. 2 meals worth of cornbread, which will be at least a meal. And then 2 days, or 2 days, we can't eat 24 muffins in a day. But we also like to freeze them and then just eat them whenever. So 48 muffins worth of the raspberry muffins. And honestly, if you have not tried them, you are missing out because those are my favorite. Okay, now I'm just going to write on some masking tape what it is and the extra ingredients that I need to add. And what did that take me? About 15 minutes or so to make all 6 of those. But I don't know why when I have the energy to do stuff like this right now, but then when it comes to mealtime, I don't have the energy to make anything, or it seems so daunting or whatnot. So these will be helpful because then I'll feel like, oh, it'll only take me 10 minutes or 5 minutes to mix up pancakes instead of the 15 that it would have normally. But really, if I have these already made, I am so much more likely to make something fun. Okay, so there's one, and now I can just put this on my in my cupboard, and then I will have a mix ready to go. You could also make this mix in a really big bulk, or like 4 of these recipes or something like that, and then you could just say how much you would have to scoop out if you mixed it all together. that might be a wise decision if your family was bigger and you needed like 1.5, or if your family was, or if it was just you and you were just going to use half of the recipe at a time. That would be a smart decision too. But I know that I have used this recipe a lot, and I know that my family would eat, that this would be enough pancakes for one day and then probably some extras for another day. Okay, here we've got the two 24 raspberry muffins. I need to remember to write 24 on them. I don't think I did that. But the streusel topping and then the stuff, and then the pancakes and the cornbread. And so we're set. If you have a favorite recipe that you like but you don't always like making it, then I encourage you to do this, and so that you feel encouraged to make it someday, because it makes it a little bit easier when you have the energy and the desire to put it together. Then next time when you want to make them, you don't have to work as hard. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!